Today is a special day. Dabney, Meixa, facilitators at Satya Therapeutics. And today's video is something I've been excited to do for a long time, the bad trip video. I guess to start off with is a lot of clients that call us, they are very concerned about having a bad trip. In the initial screening call where Jennifer or I talked to them, we explained a little bit about that, but I figured it'd be better to hear it from two of the most experienced facilitators in the state. So, Meja, do you think there's bad trips?
I do. Yeah. I thought about where we could start with that. A lot of people come in with an experience of, oh, when I was 17, I had a bad trip. I took something, maybe it was too much, maybe it wasn't what I was supposed to take, and I ended up in a closet by myself for hours.
Right.
And to me, that's the quintessential bad trip, right? Like something happened and it was overwhelming for you and you had no support. So what we're going to be talking about mostly here is what can happen in the journey, but you're going to have support, right? And so when you have support, that idea of a bad trip really just becomes oh, it's a challenging trip, it's an intense trip, but you're not alone in it. And that really changes the frame of what historically and culturally have been called a bad trip.
Right,
Yeah.
right. How about you, Dabney?
Yeah, I think that's very important. People over and over mention set and setting, how important that is, but people don't often stop to think about what that means. And so the set and setting of being in more of a recreational experience with your friends, because same thing, I've had clients that I took mushrooms at this point, and this happened, that would be considered like a bad trip.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the factors, right? Completely different experience if you're in public, at a concert, with friends, and you don't have a person that is experienced, that is there, that is trained. And so being here with our training and the way that the whole set and setting at Satya is designed is like you have your facilitator that you have hopefully built up trust with during the preparation work and like know them and they know you and you're in a very safe place with many layers of support inside the room, outside the room for the service center that naturally I like to explain to my clients, it allows that like those subconscious and unconscious parts of you to know you're safe and know you're in a safe place that I think reduces that bad trip experience dramatically. Like it brings it into a place where like, okay, it's a challenging experience. There might be intense moments, but I'm in a safe place and I have a person here that is taking care of me.
And I chose this.
Yes, and I chose this.
Chose this.
Yeah, and there's people here that understand this, understand what I'm going through, know what this is, and can help me get through those difficult moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And something I sometimes talk about is that it's really rare in this kind of medical setting of this kind of extraordinary way of exploring healing through psilocybin. We get to curate an environment that is tailored just for our clients, just for you. So when we're talking to our clients, we're creating this environment that you've chosen: music, pillows, light, how close you want us to be, how far, how much you want to be talked to, how you want to be touched. So much of it is by your choice and creation. And it's just so different than what we've been talking about not even knowing that you've chosen what it is that all of a sudden you got into. But then also like a more medicalized setting where you actually have a voice, right? And you get to ask for something that you need. Like, oh, could you hold my hand? Or I'm super cold. I'm so cold. And then we'll get you a blanket. All these things that can really help to remind you that you're safe in a moment, that you're cared for, that somebody is with you while the challenge and the intensity are happening. Because they most likely will.
And the whole clinical design here, right, is so I love it that it's like one client, one facilitator, because it's like you have your person and the model with the preparation. I like to say to my clients, like every preparation, every session, I'm calibrating to each client individually, who you are, what your story is, what you're bringing. It's going to be different for each person, but I like to say that I like to consider like if I've done my job, which I always 100% intend to do my job well of preparing you and giving you the tools and the navigation skills to get through difficult moments, which is what we do during prep
Yeah.
over and over again, that by the time we are in the room, you are at your intense moment, you're going to remember. And oftentimes clients afterwards will say like, oh my gosh, I got to one of those dark places and it was intense. And then I remembered what we'd gone over in prep. And I'm like, right, that's why we do that at prep. So you come in prepared and ready for the whole wide range of anything that could happen.
Yeah.
And some people come in expecting that they're going to have a really intense trip and they end up laughing the entire time. And some people come in and they don't know what to expect and they get to a hard moment and they might say, because they have that safety, they're in their room, it's comfy, and they'll just say, I feel stuck or something. And then right there, they have their person. I like to sometimes say, like, I'm kind of like your tour guide and your translator, right? Like you have someone there that can like help you get through that difficult moment, but no one's going to disturb you in your process. You're completely safe and protected in your comfy little nest there. But if you do get to that place, you can just say one word or reach out a hand and someone is there right there.
Yeah.
I think it's important to consider that the three of us have seen between 500 and 600 clients here. So we have an immense amount of experience in the good times and the bad times, so to speak. So we really know what we're talking about here. And I think what you all said is that it starts with safety, the idea of being safe here. You both are incredibly good at creating that safe space for people. I always like to say that a bad trip is coming out here from far away and not having anything happen.
Yeah.
Because you spent a lot of time, money, and effort and expectation. And it's extremely disappointing in those uncommon events where the psilocybin doesn't work. Talking about prep, how do you prepare people for those moments heading into what might start to be the beginning of a really challenging, scary place for a client?
I always say, and I'm always really interested in what brings a person, a journeyer, to do this, right? Is
The
to
intention.
so much effort, so much resource, so much time. What has brought you here? Those intentions are really, really important. And I always say that I really believe the most important intention that you can carry throughout the journey is to just open and welcome anything and everything as for you in the experience. And similar to what you were just talking about, right? And we just find different languages to meet our clients in different ways. Is if you can turn towards and say, oh, hello, or just take a pause and a breath. Okay, there you are. And begin to relate with what it is that you're aware of, whether it's sensations, a presence, a visual, something you're hearing. It can come in so many different ways, and all of them all at once. And um, but that welcoming, that allowing, allows the energy to widen, to deepen, instead of resisting, then it will persist. And I oftentimes say that what happens is when you resist, that energy is going to turn into like a toddler that's trying to get it's attention, and it gets bigger and it gets wilder, and it will oftentimes just become all kinds of different things that it initially, like the core part of what that energy wants to be related as, it becomes distorted because it's trying to get your attention. So if you can first and foremost welcome, welcome, then a lot of the other progressions don't even happen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's the turn towards instead of turning away.
Yeah.
Like that is such a big thing. But all of these are terms, right? And so when during prep, when I talk to people, I'm like, yes, we say things like allow, surrender, turn towards, receive, all of that. But I like to say, and this is what it might look like during a session. And for me, what I've learned from decades and decades of my own personal experience and going through hard journeys myself is first when if something first starts to feel like it might be difficult or something, I like to tell my clients during prep, that's the moment where first, like, check in with your body and relax any part of your body that feels tense. Yeah, melt. Like relax, melt like chocolate. And turn the attention for just a moment away from whatever might be arising in your vision and take a few deep breaths, slow, deep breaths. And that often is going to help you that's what's going to get you into that. Okay, now I can turn towards this instead of turn away.
Yeah.
Because, yes, sometimes when you turn away, the thing might persist. That, no, something here needs to be acknowledged and seen and looked at. Some clients afterwards will tell me, oh, something arose that I didn't really want to look at until I went through another door and it went away. Great. They figured it out. But the importance of understanding, like, just keep going instead of trying to stop or refuse to look at something, and having that welcoming, acknowledging, and understanding that, sometimes I have to remind them, right? Like, this isn't going to last forever. It's only a matter of hours.
Yes.
It's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. Like, just breathe and center in your body, and that can help so many difficult moments. So many. And oftentimes I'll hear my clients, like, they'll start to get restless, and then they'll, like, start taking deep breaths. I'm like, awesome. Okay, they're getting through it. They're learning themselves how to get through it, because we can't crawl into their experience and help them navigate this or that, but we can sometimes hold their hand and say, hey, do you want to maybe take some deep breaths together? Hey, remember we talked about that thing during prep, like, relax and surrender, because that receptivity, that surrendering to the experience, I feel like is the perfect, pivoting away from what could turn into a very challenging bad trip experience. Because I feel like what I've seen is what those bad trip experiences are when something is so overwhelming that people just only want to turn away instead of turn towards.
What I find really remarkable about what you both been describing here is, in a way, you're talking about being a guide in navigation there, navigating through what could be a difficult time. And I always don't like the word of guide in general in this, but that's what it really seems like when you describe that, as you're guiding people in how to navigate their experience. The other thing that comes to me is that I think, and this is just my thinking, I'm interested in your thoughts. Do people respond well to this because at their deepest, darkest moments, they actually have a connection to someone that is really present in there for them? In other words, a lot of times in our crisis or suffering in life, there's nobody there for us, or we feel alone. And in this case, you're not alone. Do you think that has anything to do with how this process works?
Absolutely. I do. I feel like so many of the intense moments that can arise can often be reflections of other times in our life where, difficult moments maybe arose and there wasn't someone there to help us through that. As facilitators, we minimize how much we engage during a session because we want someone's session to be their own session. So we're not talking a lot, we're not intervening except absolutely necessary, but sometimes just as simple, like, do you want to hold my hand? Simple, just like, I'm here. I don't
It's so huge, right? Simple but huge.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything. Like, sometimes them just remembering, like, all right, you're there. Oh, right. And you told me if it got difficult to breathe or to relax or to just do whatever I need to do, like, can be everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I often speak to the sad fact that most of our trauma and the things that have hurt us and made us, grew us, are relational, and that we related to them largely alone, even under the best of circumstances. Parents that were great, large family. There's some realms of suppression that we experienced in our lives. And that suppression breeds loneliness. It breeds isolation and feeling like, oh, I'm alone in this, and nobody understands me. So when they go through an experience with us, and they usually, a lot of our clients tell us quite a bit about who they are and um, what has made them, that for them to unfold into the transparency and vulnerability of the psychedelic experience, a huge amount of revelation has the potential to come up, and to be able to do that with a guide, or I had a friend, a dear friend, that just said the word companion to me. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's it, right? That we're a companion to you as you go deep and deeper into what it is that made you, and then the greater beyond of um, what your dreams and aspirations are for life. And so, yeah, to finally have some kind of balm in your life of, oh, I'm not alone. Somebody's here with me. And oftentimes what can happen is that we become a little bit of an archetype for that relation of what it is, maybe that healing presence that is needed, whether it's an angel or the ancestors, or a big tree, or I'm oftentimes a cat. There's some kind of presence that is affirming, safe, trusting, and helps that person melt.
Right.
Just continue to melt.
Because then knowing also that they have like someone with experience, like,
Yeah.
okay, you've been here, you've gone through this many times, you've gone through this with clients many times, like, this realm. And I think that trust factor that is so important, that hopefully gets built very deeply during the prep work, where you get to know each other on a personal level. By the time they're in the room having their experience, ideally they have that safety and trust in you that, like, okay, you're here for whatever might arise. You know how to handle it best to your ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, the remarkable thing here is I want to do a bad trip video, and all we're talking about is support and navigating out it. And it seems like it's impossible to have a bad trip, right? I mean, this is the whole point. And we talk about it. This is why we don't have bad trips, right?
Yes. That what we were just talking about before we videoed was that, and what I found is that oftentimes what could be called a bad trip or an intense journey and a challenging one are oftentimes so very impactful and beneficial to the client, to the journeyer, is exactly what they needed to go through, even if it was hard and arduous and 100 years worth of material and 20 years of therapy, right? That's why you're coming, is to go through quite a bit. And it's not that it's necessarily bad, but it is very intense and it is very challenging. And maybe we're there to support in some of those micro moments that feel monumental, but it's still gonna be like, "Whoa, I just did that, and I generated a lot of possibility for well-being for the future because of that."
Yeah. And I would say that I think that, like, most of my clients that seemed like they really had bad trips, often I didn't know they were having a bad trip. And then afterwards, they're like, ah, this happened, and I thought I was dying, or I thought I was this, and I was like, wow. But it was still a very meaningful, huge experience for them afterwards. And then the very rare, because once you get to see, 200 clients or so, like, you get the little rare moments where someone has what would seem like a bad trip, and they get to a point where they don't want to maybe close their eyes and go back into the mushroom experience, and they can be very confused and disoriented and kind of get lost. And so I go over that in the prep, like, this might happen. You might get to a point, sometimes it happens, where maybe they have to use the restroom during a session, then they come back, and then part of them is like looking outside, and they're like, everything seems really weird, and they start to kind of get very disoriented.
Hmm.
And to me, I call it like a foot in two worlds. And I always tell them in prep, that happens. You can't be in two worlds at once. You always want to go back to the mushroom world, because that's where you're going to gain the experience you came for.
For prospective clients considering coming here, rest assured that one of the things that separates Satya from other service centers is we always have backup. We're not required to by the state, but we always have backup to back the facilitator up. Clients don't need backup. The facilitator does. Difficult journeys are harder on the facilitators than on clients, in our opinion. How would you view the dosing conversation and how to approach dosing? I should just take 50 milligrams and get my money's worth. Is that a good idea?
Definitely not. I think we're probably the more or less is more.
Less is more.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the Goldilocks. It's like just the right amount, but it's more of an art than science.
Yes.
And that's, why I like to start off slowly with just the right amount for each person, that you're going to feel it, and you're going to start noticing the depths of the mushroom experience, not just the lightness of it. And then, but it, you know, oftentimes people do end up taking a lot, and sometimes they think, did I take too much? And I always tell them, like, you took what you took for a reason, and
We honor the choice.
yeah, it's their choice. Like, they
Yeah.
just make recommendations. Like, maybe, you have the option to take this or this or this, but I feel like every time someone takes the larger amounts that, again, we work up to, no one ever comes in and just takes 50 straight out of the door unless you have vast experience already taking medicine. Like,
Even
so
then, it's not advisable.
no, we slowly inch into the deeper space. And so by the time you get into that deep, big part of the journey, which is, 3, 4 hours, give or take, like, ideally you've slowly entered into that place where you kind of are gradually getting into the deeper place to where it's not like a throwing someone off the high dive experience.
Mhm. Yeah. Agreed.
The idea here is when we go back to the beginning of our conversation, people in recreational situations outside of the service center, maybe trying this at home, they take too much, it comes on too fast, all of a sudden they feel unsafe, and now they have no support. And here it's different because you're coming into it where you've made a really intentional choice. And so, we really take that seriously.
Yeah. And what something we were talking about earlier that just needs to be said here is maybe you kind of already said it is, well, at least for Andreas and I, we agree that worst case scenario, worst trip possibility is no trip. That you come here and you don't have an experience. And I've had 2 of those, and
It's very infrequent.
it's very infrequent. It's like I think I've had 140 journeys, and so 2 of those, and it was because of meds.
Right.
But that's a big part of our role is understanding how meds possibly are going to be apparent in the journeyers.
Yeah, I mean, meds are super
Body.
important, right?
Right.
We get people that come in here saying, I'm taking antipsychotics and SSRIs. I want to take the maximum dose. But they maybe exhibit some other characteristics like autism or something where they're maybe going to be very sensitive. And, just giving someone a large dose out of the gate is exceptionally irresponsible because they may still be sensitive.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I've seen it again and again. So
Right.
no matter what, I always lean on the lower end of the threshold, and then we see what your nervous system capacity is with the mushrooms, how the uh, relationship is starting to go from the get go. Are you opening up those doors? Are you melting? Are you saying hello? Are you accepting the changes that are happening in time and space and body and spirit? And then we know, like, oh, you're lightweight, you're super sensitive, or oh no, there's not much happening and you're pretty bored and you're wondering if anything's going to happen. Those are 2 very different scenarios for the boost conversation and dosage. And oftentimes, most of the time, it's in the middle. And yep. Yeah.
So preventing too intensive an experience is a way of preventing a quote, beginning of a potential bad trip, making a rash choice to take too much as the client increases the likelihood of difficult experience.
Absolutely. I have so many clients come that are like, I read online that 25 to 35 milligrams is what I should take. And, I'm like, okay, that's generally what maybe some of the research. Yeah, the heroic dose. I need to get the most out of my money that I'm paying for. I need to make sure I take all of it. And that's why I tell all my clients, great, but we are going to start off with a certain amount for the first hour just to like see how you respond to this medicine because everyone is so different. Their sensitivity, what meds they might be on, whatever's happening. And, I adjust that dose depending on the medications people might be on. But some people come in and, they might start off with 15 and they think like, oh, this is barely anything. And then after that hour, they're like, almost there. They're like, they only need a little bit more to cross that threshold. If they had started off with 25 or 35, it would have been too much too fast. It would have been way too much. And all it does is adds like an extra hour or so to their journey. But I think it makes it much more enjoyable to like slowly, gradually ease into that big experience. And every now and then there's people that 25 for them is going to be the same as 50 for someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that broad range of sensitivity, and I think I start off a little faster than you do. I think maybe we have different clientele as well from what I'm hearing. But I'm always looking for nervous system capacity and also life experience. Are you already in a practice in life for staying with? Do you have a like meditation practice? Are you a Tai Chi person? Do you hike mountains? Do you meditate? Do you I don't even know, write a book, like do you have something that you know how to stay with? Are you a massage therapist? That helps so much in the experience of these rounds. And if you do, then I'm like, oh yeah, you can handle like more of a flush in your system, right? You're already used to being with, staying with what you are aware of. But a lot of people aren't. And so that's
Yeah.
that conversation with
What I find remarkable is here we are at this point of this conversation, and we're still not talking about people freaking out and running around in circles and having bad tricks because it just doesn't happen. And the reason why is because we do our work very seriously, or,
yeah.
and I think to close here, we'll talk about one more thing that came to my mind is this idea of behavior normalization during a journey. Some people are concerned that they're going to make a fool out of themselves or say something horrible or do something bad. And that is an aspect of what they might consider bad trip being, is maybe my secret will come out. How would you talk about, what people hold inside and whether they need to be here to worry about that or not?
Yeah, for me it's a big part of what I talk about. That earlier I spoke to the suppression that we've had in our life, and that suppression is um about our natural expression. So when we have naturally expressed in life, then we have the ability and the potential of moving the energy that has come in and created some kind of disturbance, right? And sometimes it's not even disturbance, sometimes it's love. I can't even receive that love because there's a blockage and I can't see it back, and I wanted to so badly, right? It's love, and it's the muck of life. So when you're in the psilocybin experience, there's the one end of this spectrum. You're still, you're quiet, you're just melting on the bed, everything's happening internally. And then there's the other side, which is very somatic, very expressive with the voice, crying, screaming, whimpering, singing, giggling, moaning, groaning, so many different sounds, lots of words. Some clients like are just have so much to say, so much to say. And to
Right.
me, that is purification. That's honesty. That's detox. That's finally getting out all of these parts of ourselves that have been holding on and are making us ill. Like literally making us ill. So I always say, I will never shush you, and I'll write down all that I can understand. I have to be able to understand it. You might think I can hear you, but I might not be able to. And I really, really, really love that part of this work, is that there is so much that gets to come out. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that too. And I have clients sometimes that are like, gosh, I'm worried I'm going to do something embarrassing or say something, or I read about this or this. And I like to tell them, by the time you're at that part of the journey, because we ease into it,
Right.
you are not going to think about what you're doing. And I like to say, it's like everyone kind of becomes a little kid again. And it's like precious because you forget what's going on in the room. Ideally, the room is far away. And so even if you might be talking or wrestling around in the blankets and the pillows, or you're crying and laughing at the same time, you are not thinking in any way about like, oh, I look goofy or weird right now. Or you've kind of forgotten the room and it's faded away because you're so engrossed in your own experience and you're going through it, and it's cathartic and it's releasing. And so I bring that into prep too. Like, yeah, you might roll around, you might want to do this or that, but you might be talking the whole entire time to the ceiling, but you're not going to be trying to talk to me because you're in your experience, and everyone's experience is going to be so vastly different. But as long as you're in your experience, no matter how messy or cathartic, it's in the room. What happens in the room stays in the room.
Yeah.
And I'll take notes on anything that I can hear. I'm not going to try to eavesdrop if you're mumbling in the pillow to yourself. But if you say something that sounds important that you might want to hear later, like it'll be on a note and no one else sees those notes but you and I.
Yeah.
It's between us.
Yeah. So here we are. We've been talking about bad trips, and all we're really talking about is what the reality is. The reality of what you've been talking about now is, you really don't have to be worried about it as a client. What you do have to do is be honest, talk to your facilitator about things that are concern, and then, it's obvious that y'all are going to think through and find a way to, maximize the journey, so to speak, as much as you can. Yeah, so I really appreciate it. I think this has been fascinating, and I hope that other clients, that clients that listen to this get something from this. And like I said, this is our bad trip video. Thank you so.
Number one, maybe it will be more to come. Thanks,
Yeah, that's it.